Namo Phat. Thanks so much for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The second mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression, I vow to cultivate loving kindness and learn ways to work for the well-being of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I will practice generosity by sharing my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in real need. I'm determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. I will respect the property of others, but I will prevent others from profiting from human suffering or the suffering of other species on earth. For Dharma lessons, we're reading Ajahn Munindo's book, Unexpected Freedom. Today we're finishing a chapter called When We Fall in Love, with the section Love and Transformation. Often I'm asked whether it's possible to deepen practice in the context of a committed relationship. My hesitation to say much about this is not because of a view that progress on the path towards realization can only be furthered in the context of monastic life. Such fixed views scare me. But since I don't have the experience of living in relationship with one other person with any degree of long-term commitment, I can't presume to know. Just as I wouldn't rely on someone without many years' experience to teach me how to live the celibate renunciate life, I don't wish to instruct others how to live their lives as householders, only to encourage asking questions of themselves. I believe that all of us, whatever our lifestyle commitment, can use every situation we find ourselves in to deepen practice. One thing I've heard from some who view their partnership as practice is that there is as much, if not more, to learn from falling out of love as there is to learn from falling in love. What is essential is commitment and interest in going beyond the initial high. I've heard various lay teachers who know about this business from their own experience that inevitably every relationship reaches the point where at least one partner feels, I made the wrong choice. And it is precisely at that point that the relationship becomes really interesting as an aspect of spiritual practice. There are ways of contemplating the dynamic of being loving so that we can prepare ourselves to benefit from our susceptibility to falling in love. As the possibility of the way dawns on us, we can start to see that it is wisdom that calls us to prepare ourselves for such wild encounters with life. Experiences such as falling in love appear threatening, at least on some level. They don't just threaten to destroy our ego, our subjective personality. They do that for sure. They also threaten to ruin our lives. If you're a monk or a nun and you fall in love, and you're not prepared for it, the consequences can be very difficult. Similarly, if you're married and you fall in love with someone other than the one with whom you've made a commitment, the consequences can also be very difficult. But we can prepare ourselves so that we don't have to be afraid of it happening. We don't have to be afraid of the intensity. If we contemplate in this manner, we can ask ourselves, do I want to be able to withstand the tension that arises as a consequence of an as yet unawakened relationship with my own heart capacity? When we fall in love, that's what's really taking place, is that we are challenged to own up to the consequences of our limited way of engaging with experience. We feel like saying, I can't handle it, I can't handle this, but we can decide to handle it, to say, I'm interested in learning to handle this. I'm interested in learning to handle all of my heart's enthusiasm for life. I'm interested in being loving, fully, purifying the heart's capacity for being loving. If we've investigated and considered this matter, and then decide to exercise this choice, we are already preparing ourselves so that when the passion arises, fear, contraction, and limitation is not the default, but instead an interest in the reality which is unfolding takes its place. We're interested and enthusiastic because we see the potential that such energy has for dissolving the rigidity of our frozen hearts. It feels impossible from one perspective, for sure. From the perspective of the ego, it's definitely impossible. But from the perspective of facing the way, it's a profound power for transformation. And it does not have to become an obstruction. It can deepen our commitment to being free to live all of our life as it comes to us and goes from us without fear. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Namo Adita Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.